one out for one of the other ones that I have because the T key keeps sticking. So I keep getting double T's when I don't need it.
Or
oh, we're live.
Yep. All right. We're live. Yeah. Actually, to give it, whatchamacallit, Logitech sent me a brand new keyboard.
Oh, nice.
And one of their cool mouses, their new design. So,
do they want you to review it or something?
Well, I think they want me to. I mean, what I'll probably do is just mention it like in some videos and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do like a full review just because someone sent me like $100 worth of stuff. Right. It's
gotcha.
Like, but I'll mention it and I'll like them and, it'll probably come up multiple times. So
there you go.
See.
Oh, man.
It's funny though. It does go to show you like, just like, I mean, the psychological effect. Like, I think a lot of people will just review. Like, if I was going to charge them to advertise, I would charge like $1,000 or $1,500.
Yeah, fair enough.
But then, a lot of companies are smart enough. They're like, we'll just send you this free thing, and then you'll feel obligated to review, and that's like so much cheaper. So it's kind of a good tactic to use. Is like,
it is, but. Yeah, you could just hold it up in front of the camera for a second and say, "Hey, Logitech sent me this nice wireless keyboard. I kind of like it."
Yeah, just like I did. So
yeah,
but yeah, coronavirus stuff is fun.
Oh yeah, I'm doing my best to capitalize on it.
Capitalize on it. I'm not. I lost about $150,000 in the last 2 weeks.
How?
Well, just horribly bad timing. So I was sitting on a bunch of cash, right? And I was sitting on this cash in the bank accounts for like the last like 3 years or so. And the reason why I was doing it was because I was saving it for a real estate investment. I was going to make a big purchase. So I was sitting on maybe basically like $600,000 or so.
Right.
And that was the plan. But then I was like, you know what, this is kind of stupid. Like I should, even though I'm saving this for a real estate investment, I should at least have this money, doing something like a
so
very
you put
low
it into
risk
the stock market.
Well, not directly. Like I put it into Wealthfront, which is like a balance, a robo trading platform. And I put the risk level at like 5, which, should average like 6 to 7% return, which over the last 10 years, like that's like, or however long they've been in business or so. And it's pretty conservative, right? It automatically balances the portfolio. Like it's definitely not like, oh, let's go jump into the stock market type of thing.
Right.
Well, 20% of it's in stock market, like 20% is like an emerging market.
Right.
So like, they have a pretty good distribution. So I did that like about a month ago. And then about the same time, I was like, I read a lot of some books on Bitcoin, right? And I was like, okay, Bitcoin is a good long-term investment as a value store, right? Not as a speculative move, but just like, it's kind of like gold, right? That was basically. And so I was like, okay, I'll put $100,000 in Bitcoin. So I put like 550 into Wealthfront and then 100K into Bitcoin. And that was literally like 3 weeks ago.
Can you guys hear me?
Did Bitcoin drop too?
Bitcoin cut in half.
Oh, wow.
It's like $5,100 right now and in the market. So I'm at like over $150,000 in losses for the last 3 weeks.
Well, you've only lost the money if you cash out, right?
Well, I mean, technically you've lost the money as soon as you've lost the money. Like I think that's a fallacy like that people have. It's like, because
it is and it isn't.
No, I mean, it's a fallacy because at any point you can you're always making the decision to rebuy in if you're staying.
You can go put that money to use anywhere else. So you're fucked.
Yeah, the difference is like, because staying in is the same thing as saying like I'm buying in at any given point. But the only difference there is like the way taxes are for short-term, long-term capital gains.
Well, you can take the losses and use them against something else.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I'm basically I've got my feet to the fire, and I'm basically like, all right, at the point of $150,000 in the market loss, not the Bitcoin loss. I don't really care about the Bitcoin. That's like a long-term thing. Then I think I will probably cry uncle and like do the stupid thing and pull out of the market. But
that's when it'll turn around and go back up. You know that, right?
Yeah.
The second you pull out, it's going to go.
Yeah. But I'm looking at it now more in terms of like, what am I willing to lose? Not like, is this a good potential investment, right? And it's like, I think about $150,000 out of the market is where I'm like, okay, that, you know, that's about the cry uncle point. Cause I don't want to see it go down even further than that. And then, you know, yeah, I don't know. It's a complicated situation, but the biggest thing I learned from the whole thing was, and Manny, you'll appreciate this one, second order consequences and third order consequences are the thing that's most important, right? Because when the coronavirus thing came out, right, I was like, and I still think it's not a big deal. I don't even care. I'm not afraid of getting infected. Even if I got infected, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's not a big deal. There's a lot more worse things. And it's not scary at all in that sense. And so when you see people making runs for toilet paper, you think, fucking idiots, right? Like, this whole thing is just ridiculous, overblown, not scary at all. And then the same thing with stock market. You're like, you know, whatever, like some idiots selling their shit and panicking, right? But that's all the first order effect, right? Like, you can be smart and realize that this is not a time to panic and don't do stupid shit. But the second order effect is what happens because people panic and because people like the first order effect is the coronavirus itself, which if we did nothing, if we just said, all right, coronavirus, whatever, no governments did nothing, no intervention or anything, it would have just run its course. It's not the bubonic plague, right? It would not destroy fucking humanity. Like, you know, it would have been not great, but fine, right? Markets wouldn't have tanked. None of this shit would have happened, right? But because people panicked and did all this crazy shit, that's actually the second order effect, which is more dangerous. And so,
well, what you call panic is a very linear thing in the market, right? If the first thing, what's called quote unquote definition of panic is, okay, the cruise stocks, they start to get hit because they cannot continue travel for a while. Then suddenly the airline stocks start to get hit because they cannot continue travel for a while. The hotel stocks start to get hit. They cannot continue travel for a while. And one by one, the industries, like, they're lowering, and that starts triggering robot sales at different parts of the market cycle, right? So now suddenly indices are going down, and that's triggering overall sales. And one after the other, now everything starts to fall, like the dominoes start to fall, because simple 1-2% here, 2-3% here, 4% there, the dominoes keep falling. So it's not that there's like the market's market is stupid or crazy. It's the technicalities of the market create these kinds of situations in the marketplace.
Well, but it is stupid or crazy because like the best, like for most people are long-term investors in the market, and the most financially sound thing to do if you're a long-term investor is to just keep on doing what you're doing and never
most people are not long-term. There's a lot of short-term day trading, hedging, all of that shit going on as well.
Most of the actual like equity in the market is long-term and or big big retail players, which are,
and even the long-term investors will start moving their money around, assuming that, okay, well, this right now I don't think Southwest Airlines or Delta or American will yield the returns we want for this year, so this stock is not going to work the way we want, so let's move the money to somewhere else.
No one has ever been able to successfully repeatedly beat the market.
Well, we know that. That is okay, but that is the job of a fund manager to protect its fund's assets. And much as you and I can argue, we can almost say that nobody should be allowed to create any funds except for exchange traded funds, and that's all there is.
Well,
everything else is bullshit.
It's bullshit. But here's the thing. Here's a better example, because the market is one that, you know, no one actually really knows, like it's all. But here's what I mean by the second order and third order effects. This is how it works, right? So you're watching people on TV, like this is like several weeks ago, going to Walmart and fucking buying toilet paper and fighting each other over toilet paper, right? You're watching this and you're sitting there and you're like, these guys are fucking idiots. What the hell? There's not even anything happening at this point. Like, small people are panicking. They're fighting each other at Walmart and you're just laughing at them, right? And then, you see
until you run out of toilet paper and need to go get some.
Well, this is what happens. And you're smart, right? Because you shouldn't be running to Walmart and fighting people over toilet paper. That's a stupid thing to do. It's a panic thing, right? So by being smart, you're actually dumb. And I'll tell you why. Because what ends up happening is that, a week goes by and then you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I wonder how much toilet paper I have. And you're not thinking much of it, but you're like, I guess I got about enough for a month. But then you're like, well, wait a minute. If everyone's buying toilet paper in a month, will I be able to? I better just go buy a little bit extra now, right? So you're not really panicked at this point. You're level-headed. You're cool. You're smart. You know not to panic about some stupid shit, and that buying toilet paper doesn't actually matter. Like, you need to be buying chocolate and hard cheeses and nuts, like shit that actually is high calorie dense foods, not fucking toilet paper. Because if the world comes to an end, you know what? Wiping your ass is a nice thing to be able to do, but I'd rather fucking not die. Like, and it's not gonna. So anyway, so you go to Walmart.
I have lots of conference shirts that I never wear.
so yeah, exactly. So you go to Target. Yeah, exactly. So, and you can rinse them. Like, I mean,
you can use water.
Yeah. So anyway, so you go to Target, right? And you go to buy some toilet paper. I'll just get a little bit, right? I'm not going to go crazy, but there's none. So then you're like, you just have like a little moment of panic. You're like, oh, okay. That's not a big deal. I'm not going to be fucking idiot like all these other people. I'll just go to Walmart. So you go to Walmart and there's none. And then you're like, well, fuck, what am I going to do? Now you start to panic. Now you're the fucking idiot. Now you're going store to store. And now you see what I'm saying? It's like, that's that second order effect. And now you are part of this. So what I mean by this is, like, the lesson that I learned from this whole thing is that if you anticipate the second and third order effects, then, okay, so an intelligent person does not freak out and panic and buy toilet paper because of some ridiculous, fear mongering about a virus. But that person will suffer the second and third order effects of not doing that because people are idiots, right? So what's the most intelligent response is to either one of two things. The most intelligent response is to be prepared way ahead of time not for a coronavirus that you're worried is going to be the apocalypse and being a crazy prepper person, but to be prepared ahead of time for other people to be stupid and to already have like a good supply of toilet paper and food and shit and water that you just have, right?
Either ways, you're doing what everyone else is doing, whichever way you want to quantify it or classify it.
No. The difference is when. The difference is when and how, and the understanding, right?
So the difference is being a prepper versus being a non-prepper who is going last minute to do this shit.
Well, okay, so being prepper is not an intelligent course of action either, because the odds dictate that is a waste of your time and your effort, right?
But this is not something you're doing for odds anymore.
No. Yeah, but see, the thing is, what you should have is what makes the most sense. The best backup plan, right, is probably just, a few months worth of supplies that you just always have on hand. Right? Not because you're worried about some fucking crazy shit happening, because that's not going to happen, but because you're worried about people reacting to the fear of some crazy shit happening, right? So that there's a difference in how you prepare between those two scenarios, right? In one scenario, same thing with the market, right? You can apply this to everything economically, financially, right? The idea of how much money do you leave behind and where do you put your money, and how do you react to, an instance happening, right? So, for example, like understanding this and the second and third order effects, I think is really critical, because let's say that you're doing like what is the wise investment advice, which is just to ride out the dips in the market, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's smart, except that if you understand second and third order consequences, right, which I didn't quite grasp until this, then as soon as you know that there's some kind of issue like this, and the market shows any sign of weakness, you should sell off everything immediately. because you know that the potential, the downside just expanded, it magnified, not because of the actual threat, right? So if you use firsthand knowledge to say, okay, well, this is not a big deal, it's not even as big of a deal as a seasonal flu, and you use that to predict the market, you're going to be correct in the sense that that's a logical prediction, that's correct, but you're going to be wrong in the sense that the second and third order effects are going to potentially destroy the market, right? And the upside versus downside is totally imbalanced, right? Because if people panic and there's a stampede, the downside will be much greater than if you missed out for a couple of weeks of small gains in the market. You see what I'm saying? So that's why, and it's the same thing with the whole toilet paper thing, right?
I'm
Again,
waiting to
if
buy
you
in
don't
at
have toilet paper,
15,000.
what's that?
I'm waiting to buy in at Dow going to 15,000.
Yeah.
Just 6,000 points more, and I'm in. I'm putting
Or
in.
6,000 points less, you mean?
Yeah. Just just let it fall another 30%, basically 50% of its peak, and then I'm ready to go in.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem with that. Okay, so the federal government just injected 1.5
You're
trillion
right.
dollars.
It's also called infection because they fucked up our value of money basically by doing stupid shit like that.
Yes.
So that's the thing. So you can't actually time the market. If you wait for it to go to 15,000, you know what's going to happen? You'll buy in at 15,000, sure, but the dollar value that you buy in will be worth less, because right now, while you have money in your bank account, that money, like just overnight, that money just got cut by probably 10-15% of its value. We just don't know it yet, because when the federal government injects $1.5 trillion into the market, in fact, they're talking about doing 3 trillion, it devalues the currency to a huge degree.
It's the stupidest
we just don't
thing ever.
understand
Basically, you are devaluing everyone's money to float up random businesses. Like, who the fuck? Like, why would that be a smart move? That's a fucking political move more than anything else.
Well, look at, the best book on it is Anti-Fragile, right? Taleb explains exactly why
so this is a political
doesn't
move.
work.
This is a fucking political move.
It's
There's
a
no
political
reason to
move.
do stupid shit like this, right? You're just trying to prop up companies so that you will be able to get reelected. Why do you do that? Same in 2008. They fucked up the value of our money. Now they're doing it again.
Yeah.
Rather than let people's money ride it out. And if you made bad decision, you should be, or if you are in the wrong situation, go correct it yourself. Like, don't bank on my money to fucking correct it. That's what's happening. Basically, they're stealing your money and my money to correct the market.
Exactly. That's what.
They're stealing our money to give.
Yeah, they're redistributing it.
Yeah, they're redistributing fucking wealth.
That's how it works.
Stupid.
But there's some problems here, right? So like from a theoretical perspective, knowing this, the best thing to do would be to have, like right now, to have your money in gold, right? Because it is not going to be affected by this. But gold is going down with this whole thing because of panic selling. But technically, gold would not lose its intrinsic value.
Probably will go up right now.
It's losing money right now. It's not, technically it's not supposed to be, but the idea is that if you're holding cash right now, waiting for the market to crash further, you're just losing the value either way. Like, there's no way that you can prevent losing value, right? It doesn't, aside from shorting the market.
Bond market right now, so it doesn't really do anything for me.
Well, the bond market is being infused with cash as well.
Right.
I'm
sure people are glad they're listening to us.
The yields on the bonds are dropping like fucking rocks right now.
Well, the good thing is about when they say dropping like rocks, it goes from 2% to 1.5% to 1%. That's a drop I can take, unlike equity drop, which is like 30-40% drop. That is a stupid drop.
Well, yields are relative to the purchase price, right? So technically bond values are going up. People are paying more to get lower, right? So technically bonds are a good place to be. That's true, right? Gold. Now, here's the interesting one. Bitcoin just failed the biggest test it's ever had historically, which Bitcoin was compared to gold and was supposed to be a value store, right? Well, fuck. What's supposed to happen is that if the stock market tanks, people should be moving their money into Bitcoin as a safe haven. That didn't happen. It tanked worse. Bitcoin got cut in half, 50% loss. in Bitcoin. So that that may kill the actual future of Bitcoin. This one event may have destroyed Bitcoin completely because it's proven it as not a value store, at least in people's minds.
So what is everyone planning to see write this out right now in terms of business? I mean, personal, I can understand you need to go buy toilet paper now that you've proved that second order consequences you found yourself in.
Okay. Think more about second and third order consequences here, right? Already some of my coaching clients have texted me and telling me that they're losing their jobs.
They're already losing their jobs?
Really?
They're already losing their jobs. Mm-hmm.
Within the first week of the shit?
Yep. So think about it. Like I'm basically preparing for winter. Winter's coming, I think,
Winter's here.
Yeah. Well, it'll be like it's going to be a long season because
the Night King.
I am thinking of survival for a whole fucking year before anything turns around properly. At least a year.
It might be more. Like I would count on even.
Can I sustain this business for a whole year without going under is the big challenge now.
Yeah, it's affected me too because people have gotten a little bit more skittish on, putting down marketing dollars.
For sure.
It has to be a lot right now.
Yeah, a lot.
Probably nothing is happening.
Well, think about what will happen though, right? People will lose their jobs. Okay, so definitely I'll lose coaching client, like from my right, and and then people aren't going to buy as many products, right? So we're all going to lose revenue from front end product sales. That's absolutely going to happen, right? It might not be horribly bad, but right.
What's the timeline?
But then renters. This is where it gets really bad. Is people lose their job? You think they're going to pay rent? Rent's going to right. And then commercial properties. This one, Manny, right? So tenants and commercial properties. Well, if no one's visiting stores, if they're on fucking lockdown and curfew, those stores are going to not be in great shape, and they could end up turning up.
Residential is still easy. You can lower the rent and expect them to pay. Commercial is like they're out of business. It's just nothing's happening at that point.
Yeah, I mean you can it depends, but residential still, like rents could go down.
Residential is like one of those things where if someone's not paying rent, by law you can evict them, you can do all that shit. So residential has so much. I wish right now
it's still a process though.
It's not easy.
But compared to anything else, the most fundamental need a human being has is either food, shelter, or clothing, right?
I agree with that.
Food and shelter. Shelter is what you're providing. You're providing the most fundamental need, and that's where, you will probably lose a few points. I'm not disagreeing with that, right? But of all the investments, this is the best thing your money could do.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Real
estate. The people who are gonna struggle are the people who have mortgages, where the mortgages are like very close to the rent. Yeah. And now as the rent starts to get hit and like they start to see vacancies and things like that, now they have to see if their mortgages can be paid by rent. And there are examples like that on the YouTube sphere where a lot of people are talking about, I'm just buying for appreciation, even though my rent is like my mortgage is just covered by rent and blah, blah. At some point that shit is gonna hit the fan and you're gonna get into panic mode and start selling fucking properties.
It depends.
So is real estate gonna start dropping too then?
Of course.
It has a potential. It depends on what happens with.
Well, the market is gonna freeze up, and as soon as the market freezes up, think of yourself as a seller right now. If you are in the sell, are you gonna hold off? Are you gonna like? Yeah, man, I'm just waiting for the best possible price that's probably going to happen in the next 3 months or 6 months or a year? Or are you going to be like, yeah, I will take a haircut right now. I want cash in my pocket.
Exactly.
Or the other, think of the seller, think of the buyer. The buyer is like, fuck this. I'm not even spending any money on real estate right now. I'm okay with just hunkering down in my garage because I don't want to spend money. The problem is the economy is going to choke because nobody's going to spend money.
Right.
So real estate is also going to get hit because the money is not going anywhere. That's the challenge with real estate. If the flow of money stops, real estate is probably the first one that's going to start to see the effects of the pricing.
Yeah. I mean, this could all turn around in a week or two, depending on how things go. But I would anticipate on riding this out for a year or two. Like I said,
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
it's
I'm planning for a year. I'm thinking
Yeah.
of like what all do I need to do to survive this for a whole year, even if
Yeah.
like, what's the worst case scenario? Like, what's the worst that'll happen? Like, if the business revenue goes down to zero, how long can I survive? That's the question in my mind.
right. Exactly.
And that's a pretty
I hope you have a lot of
dark
toilet
question.
paper.
They'll keep making that stuff.
Yeah.
That was the
That's a
thing that I
pretty
didn't get about the toilet papers. I'm like, that's one thing that I just don't anticipate people not making and shipping. So
I don't know.
it's a shortage for the few days that it's going to take them to get more into the store.
It's a symbol. It's a symbol of. But I will tell you on the rent thing, Manny. So if you think you can kick tenants out while there's a coronavirus going on because they're not paying rent, you're wrong. We only have the illusion of rights in the U.S. We don't have actual rights. There's no rights. I mean, just yesterday, the governor of California declared it illegal to have gatherings of more than 250 people. That is a severe violation of our rights. We don't have any rights. In China, I mean, we're not as bad as China, but they literally welded the doors shut to apartments and locked people in their apartments.
There's no verification to that. I know what you're saying.
There's video.
There are videos
of
of people welding buildings, but that's about it. That doesn't mean that people were welded into the buildings and there was nobody screaming at the windows or any of that. That's there's a lot of sensationalism in the media, and I don't buy all of this shit all the time.
Dude, this is not even media. And I don't know. I've been to China.
This is social media now.
I've been to China. It fits the
media
bill.
Is social media, right?
Well,
social media has become the new media.
But I'm just saying, they implemented curfew in New York, right? If you think that they're not gonna, if you think that the government won't use this to turn this into a police, if you think basically this is what it comes down to. People will trade their freedom to whatever extent to say, just protect me from the coronavirus. I don't care. I'll give up all my rights and freedom, right? Just as long as I don't die from the coronavirus. That's the state that we're
here's my take on it. Don't ask for the government to take away your freedom. Just everyone should be in self-quarantine for 3 weeks and we'll all be fine after that.
Well,
but because we are choosing to not impose any constraints on ourselves, that's why the virus will continue to grow and kill 3% of the people it comes in contact with. But if we said, hey, everyone self-quarantines for 3 weeks, the problem is nobody will do that. And people will just continue to spread the fucking virus.
Well, and you don't have to do that. I mean, that's the thing is, like, that's the whole thing about freedom is you have a choice.
Well, that's the whole thing of freedom, that structure leads to freedom. So if you had the structure, self-imposed structure, you could have a lot more freedom. You could have a lot more freedom in the long term. The freedom of short term and freedom of long term have to be separated here, because you are trading a short term imposition on your freedom for a long term freedom of society in general. Because nobody wants a situation where 40, 50, 60% of the country is now infected with coronavirus and everyone's fucking walking around with pneumonia and all that shit, right? So that is a possibility if people don't stop communing.
Well, I mean, all of the wrangling over, what we as society should be doing and things like that. I mean, that's all well and good, but I'm a little more interested in, okay, how do we float our businesses by, right? If things slow down, or if whatever, right?
Yeah, let's talk about that. What's the plan?
Well, that's the thing. Doing? Yeah,
I'm running online conferences.
So okay, what happened? We talked about that last week.
And you told me not to do it, and I did it anyway.
Well, other than that, what about the sponsorships? Did you close any?
So no. I've got a few sponsorship calls because I've still been chasing that. I just haven't gotten anything to close yet.
Did you make them the offer?
I did. I sent the offer through. I've got a couple of calls scheduled because of that this afternoon. So maybe.
How's your cash situation looking now?
So I had 3 No, two. I had two sponsors. One of them, he's trying to get his MVP out, and then he wants to run the sponsorships. And I just emailed him and I said, so what's the plan, right? Are you gonna hold on to the money until you're ready to sponsor, or because he gave me a commitment, or are you gonna pay it now and then we'll. And he's like, oh, I'll pay it today, and he just paid it. And then
there you go.
Boom, you got it.
Yeah,
Good.
and then the other sponsor,
And that was a deal you had offered?
No, that was just a sponsorship that I had lined up earlier in the month, last month, I think. And then the other one was a deal that I made in December, and they wanted to pay quarterly. And so they paid their quarterly payment. And so I have a bit of money in the bank at this point. And yeah, so I'm kind of, I never did get the email out that we were talking about where it's like, buy some of my time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't need to.
You made some offer.
Yeah, don't do that now. You don't need to fire sale now, or waste your
Yeah.
You have.
It turned out I'm not at that point anymore, so I never did send that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've been. Last week I started putting together JavaScript remote conference. Just because I was getting like tweets after tweets after tweets of people asking me where it was. And then after this week, where basically every conference that exists from here until like the end of May got canceled. Now people are way more interested in it.
Okay, that makes sense. I agree with that. Normally I would have said don't do that, but I agree based on this. Like you're taking advantage of the situation. So
right.
I like.
Well, and I have credibility, right? Because I've done like 30 of these.
Yeah.
So
when did you do 30 of these?
2014, 2015, 2016, 2017.
Yeah.
And then you stopped it. Okay.
And then I stopped because I wasn't getting enough people in to make it worth my while as compared to just finding sponsors, right?
Right.
But at this point, I'm having what?
You should be able to get sponsors now because they have budgets that they didn't spend on the conferences, and those are freed up, and so you should be able to get
right now all money is getting tied up. That's the problem.
Yes and no.
Right now, getting people to buy anything is a pain.
The issue that I'm running into is that I've got some people that are sort of on the fence as far as what they want to do, and this just adds more uncertainty. So they're a little less likely to just spend the money on the marketing. The other thing though is that a lot of these folks they put their money into sponsoring these conferences, and these conferences just barely announced that they were canceling and backing up and things like that, right? And so what's going on is they don't necessarily have their money back, and they may not get all of it back. And so I'm kind of in a weird place with some of it, but I think I can get some of these companies to drop some of their sponsorship money. I think it's just going to be a matter of time, basically. So it might be a few weeks, and then it's like, look, we went full virtual. You're not going to have your booth, blah, 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 or they get, refunded for their airfare or something, and then they can put it toward the virtual conference or the podcasts. And so now I'm talking to them, and I'm basically saying, look, you can sponsor the podcast, you can sponsor the conference. I recommend you do both, right? And I'll give you a bundle discount if you do both.
And a carton of toilet paper, a pallet of toilet paper.
That's right. I'll go on Amazon and I'll pay a premium to get you some toilet paper. But yeah, so that's basically the deal. And so what I'm offering them is basically a 10-second ad segment at the front of a certain number of the talks when they sponsor. And then, they'll get a banner on the website, and the intro slide on each slide deck will have, all the sponsors on it. And, I'll probably send an email out to attendees at some point and say, hey, by the way, send a quick thank you note over to our sponsor, blah, blah, blah. And, go check out what they've got for you. And then the last thing that I'm also looking at doing is I'm thinking that depending on the package they get, the number of episodes that they sponsor, I'm also going to give away like a $20 Amazon gift card on. And I'll just take that out of what they paid in the sponsorship. So they don't have to do anything. They just have to pay me. Right. But then it's, hey, 10-second ad spot. And then, okay, this session's Amazon gift card goes to so-and-so. And I'll send an email to them. Thanks to, this. And then we'll just get rolling with the talk.
When are you doing it?
In May.
Wow, that's far away. I guess it takes that much time to do these things.
Yeah, I have a CFP open.
What is CFP?
What was that?
What is CFP?
Call for proposals.
From sponsors?
No, for
speakers.
Speakers.
For speakers.
And so far, I've got about 18 proposals. I've got 7 confirmed speakers at this point, and I've got a handful of people that are telling me, oh, well, I've got all of these friends of mine who are speakers that are no longer speaking at conferences because they got canceled.
Are they going to get paid?
I haven't had anyone ask me that except for like 2 of the speakers. I am considering like taking, 10 or 20% and just splitting it among the speakers. But I have to bring in a certain amount before I even think about that.
I would either give them $1 or nothing.
Nothing is
worth it.
Nothing
is probably the better way to go.
This is the tech industry. People
It's no use giving them a few $100s. It's not.
Yeah,
well, and the thing that I've seen is like the conferences that I've gone to where I've gotten any kind of honorarium. I think the most I ever got for speaking at a conference was like $500 when I spoke at RubyConf or something. And it didn't even cover the airfare or the hotel, like either or, I spent more on any one of those things than I got back in money. You spoke at the conference for the prestige. Basically.
I got an idea for you. You will pay for their airfare and hotel.
Yeah, I'll cover their airfare and hotel. I probably will get them something nice, right? So I'll send them a thank you, but it's going to be a thank you for speaking. It's not going to be a, hey, you got paid.
Yeah, exactly. That 100%.
So
now a lot of these guys, they're honestly excited to have somewhere to go share their expertise. So,
have you started selling the tickets?
Yes.
How many have you sold?
So I'm kicking myself for this, right? Because I didn't know when I started it if people would go for it. And now I'm looking at it and going, of course people are going to go for it because they don't have an option. Right. So I initially listed it with the first 50 tickets for $10.
No.
Yeah.
It has to be $100 or some shit like that.
It's going to be $100. So I am switching it over now.
Okay. No, but you can't just go from 10 to 100. Now you have to like step it up.
I know.
So you already sold 50 tickets?
No, I've sold about 30 tickets.
Yeah, you got to change the price today.
Yeah. So I'm basically gonna send an email to my list again and say, you know what, I'm raising the price. Tell
them after today I'll raise the price, and
yeah,
it will be triple the price or something.
Yeah.
Tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you made a mistake.
I did make a mistake. Well, anyway, the other conferences, because I'm looking to put on a handful over the summer. Honestly, you're talking about living through this for a year, and some people are talking about Corona basically like essentially cooling off as it warms up outside, and so there'll be less sick people. But I think we're going to be dealing with a long tail on this for at least a year.
Well, I'm not so much worried. I'm not thinking about the health aspects of Corona. That will probably
no. But what I'm saying is nobody's going to want to go to live events, even at the end of the summer, when less people are going to be getting sick, because we don't know what it's going to do in the fall.
And there's more than that. It's not just the live event part. It's that business will be hit hard.
Yeah.
As a result of this 3-month window where
and this way they can still pay for people to get trained. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on running a bunch of these through the end of the year.
But here's what you need to do, Chuck. Like, I mean, this is good, but the primary thing you need to do is cut you need to fire people. Like you need to get your labor costs way down, like less than half of what it is now. That's what you need to that's why you got into this mess in the first place. And
I agree actually. And it's killing me to think about it, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, you have the choice whether you can run the business or you can choose to not run the business. I think with the labor costs that I don't know if you want to talk it publicly, but that's the challenge you have right now.
Yeah, well, so the people I have prospecting for leads, I'm really not paying them a ton of money. Yeah. And they're honestly, I think I'm going to wind up making it back up off of them. Where I have issues, and it kills me because I really care about these people, and they do a great job. And so, I hate getting rid of them just because I don't know if I can afford them. But yeah, I mean, where I'm really looking is, at my editors.
I'm gonna be like Mr. Wonderful in Shark Tank. I'm gonna tell you a story.
You're not gonna make me feel better about it, okay?
I will. You would be surprised how this will change your perspective on life. Trust me. So back in 2004, I got laid off from my job as a firmware software engineer at Cirrus Logic in Austin, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my manager or director at the time could have been like, let's not lay off this guy. He's on H-1B. The guy used to be on H-1B at some point, so he understands the pains of being on H-1B. You literally have 30 days to find a job, or you have to leave the country.
Right.
Okay. 30 days to find a job or leave the country. And there were a bunch of people who got laid off, me and American friends and Chinese friends and Indian friends. Tons of people got laid off, right?
Right.
They could have had mercy and said, oh man, let's not do it to these people, or let's start. No, the thing was that made me stronger. Not only that allowed me to move to San Diego. That was the reason why I moved to San Diego. That was the reason why I got a much better job. And I moved to San Diego for Nokia in San Diego. And then
but they didn't know that you were going to wind up there.
Hang on. That's the whole point of this, that these challenges force you to become a better person. Right. They force you to find the right thing for yourself. They make a better person out of you. It's the same. This recession is going to make your business a better business.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, it's going to make
this pain is going to.
I still don't have to like it.
No, I'm just telling you. I'm actually telling you that it's good for people.
No, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying.
You don't get it. You don't believe it yet. I'm convinced on this because I've been there. I got laid off, and it was one of the best things that ever happened to me.
Oh, well, I've been there too, where I've gotten laid off, and I was way better off for it.
Well, then that's it. Like, you cannot be arguing against that philosophy.
The big thing it's going to do is it's going to thin the herd too, right? So if you can survive this out and you do the smart decisions, other people will not. They will make the emotional, stupid decisions, and they will run themselves into the ground, not getting rid of people when they need to, and it will thin the herd, so it'll reduce the competition.
Yeah.
So.
And I can just talk to these guys and basically say, look, this is where things are at. It doesn't look like in the short term it's going to get any better, and I've got to start looking at who I can afford to pay, right? And and not dig the hole any deeper on what you're doing month in and month out for me.
You need to have like a target cost per episode released.
Yeah,
and it should be like sub $100.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty close to sub $100 right now. It's pretty close to $100 right now, I think.
Okay, yeah,
but I'm pretty sure that I can get it lower and still maintain quality for the most part.
If you gave me this operation, I could probably have an episode up and ready with the transcript with bare show notes, which is just the links, for $15 an episode, $20. Not me,
no, you
but
couldn't.
my team. I could.
He could Manny could, because he has people that will work for $4 an hour.
Yeah, and that's what I'm looking at, right? Is I'm thinking, okay, well, if I offshore to like Philippines or
There's no difference in quality. You will not even believe
there won't be and if there is, it's not going to be a giant. It's not going to be noticeable.
Anyone who's listening to your podcast is not listening for production value. If you have that dream or that a fairy tale idea that you have the greatest production value and that's why they are tuning in.
No, that's
they're
absolutely
tuning in
not
for
true.
the knowledge, and that's all. Like even if they're flub ups and they're screw ups, they will eat it because it doesn't matter. They're happy with it.
Well, we've had the screw ups left in before, and
nobody cares, man. Nobody cares. Literally, nobody cares. Though they only care that this thing survives.
Yeah, you probably won't be able to get like $4 an hour rates like Manny can, because he's got the India connections and he's got
no. I'm talking Philippines right now. That's the
for
website.
Video edit for audio editing. Yeah, maybe.
Actually,
well, even if it's $10 an hour, it's still.
Here's what we'll do. I have some extra bandwidth for my guy. Let me give you some of let's work a deal where you can give him some of the work, see what happens, and
well, I need to talk to my team and just let them know what's going on.
Well, this is an
I don't think
experiment. Yeah, this is an experiment. You should start conducting experiments right away rather than just be like, okay, I need to do this, and then no, you start, you figure it out, you see your costs, and then you go down this path. You don't just like make the decision and then the next day you have nobody working for you and now you're fucking stuck.
Right.
Yeah. No, I can see where you're coming from.
So I mean, if you're open for it, I'm happy to figure out a way for him to work with you as well, so that my labor costs go down as well, and I can use him for the limited time that I need him for right now, because I'm trying to cut down as well.
Right.
Of his hours. So, and I'm sure he can do the job. Audio editing, no problem. It's a pretty straightforward thing for him.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to approach it. Because I mean, I could bring somebody in and have them start.
You can start cutting down the hours. That's not a bad thing. You can just say we can't use that many hours right now because it's expensive.
For the editors?
Yeah.
But here's what you need. You need
but I'm paying them per episode, not per hour.
Yeah, so take away some of the episodes from them and give them to someone else.
Well, okay, here's the big mistake in the labor, right?
The problem is they'll see it coming, right? If I start handing episodes that they normally get off to somebody else.
Well, I don't know.
Even if they see it coming, what's going to happen, man?
That's fine. That's better than you saying it's coming.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
I don't know.
I
feel like I ought to just be straight up with them.
I think you're making a big mistake there. I think you have to watch both your sides of the equation, and over time you can still make it clear to them, but you don't have to make it clear to the point where they leave before you even have a plan.
That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about if I tell them, right, is like, hey, look, this is what I'm looking at. This is what I'm trying to do. This is where things might go. They might be like, we're out.
They already know.
This is such well, hey, Chuck.
Yeah, they already know that there's trouble, right?
You're assuming they'll say, I'm out, but they might be like, hey, I need a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, but here's the thing. Okay, here's the big thing. Like, don't make the mistake. Okay, don't pay people by episode, pay them by hour, and don't hire multiple contractors part-time. What you need to do is find someone who's a full-time audio editor for you from the Philippines, who's like $5-6 an hour, and you're paying them full-time. You're paying them basically a monthly salary, and they're going to take care of all of the editing. And maybe you have a second person, like a backup editor, or like you distribute it among the two of them, but you need full-time people. Because you're going to get a lot more efficiency for the workload out of that, and those people are going to work harder, and you'll be in a much better position. Don't put yourself in the position of having a bunch of part-time people that you're paying high amounts for. So
which you have right now. All of them are like that, right?
Yeah, and if I had one full-time person, 40 hours a week, $6 an hour, let's say, I mean, that would be a drastic cut to what I'm paying now for editing.
And that person could probably do all of the editing and then still have some bandwidth left over. Like 40 hours of actually working on the editing, I'm pretty sure they could edit all of the audio and plus do some other.
160 hours, someone can easily edit 50 hours worth of audio for 160 hours.
Yeah.
Especially because you annotate everything. So it's not like they need to do anything magic. They just go in and cut out and change things that you already told them, right?
Yep.
But get a full-time person. In fact, you know, if you want to just take immediate cost savings right now, here's what I would do. Like, okay, how many podcasts do you have total?
That we're producing every week?
Yeah.
It depends on. We've cut back on that too, just because if we don't have a sponsor, then we're just doing every other week.
Okay, but just in general, like it doesn't. How many podcasts, like total that
are running?
You're running? Yeah,
current. 17.
Okay, so you have 17 podcasts, right? Of those 17, I think only 3 of them are really actually like 3 of them are bringing in probably 80% of the listens or more.
Well, podcast sponsorship is the more important metric, I guess. The money.
Well, you have 3 major ones, right?
Yeah. 4. The 4th one is close.
Okay, so let's say 4. So you take those 4 and you continue to edit them and make show notes and everything else. Okay, then you take the other 13 and you don't even edit the audio.
Oh, there's an idea.
You just put the audio straight up. You don't do show notes. You just put the audio straight up. No editing.
Intro, outro, done.
Yes. Now it doesn't really matter if you spend $100 an episode if you're only producing less than 25% of the episodes. I mean, it's still better to get the cost down, but it doesn't really matter. Like the ones that actually are getting the money and the sponsorship, you're creating quality content for, and that's
right.
The rest of them, you're just in growth phase, right? And so it doesn't matter. You could just literally put the audio up without any editing at all.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not going to make much of a difference. But then when those ones do grow up to the point where it does make a difference and you do have some major sponsors, then you can start adding the editing. But that would cut your costs immediately. That would slash them. It would also cut a lot of your management and overhead. You just have to have some threshold of when a podcast starts getting this level of downloads, it gets this level of quality.
Yeah. Or if it gets a sponsor that'll pay for the, for that work.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, that could make sense too. Yeah. I would make it more based on like some hard criteria of number of downloads or something like that. This way you don't flip between whether it has a sponsor or not and fluctuate the quality. Like once it grows up to a certain point, then it grows up to a certain quality point.
That's fair.
But yeah, that right there would cut your costs by 75%.
Probably. Huh. Yeah. And then if I handed that off to, like you're saying, an audio editor that I have working for me, full-time-ish. I mean, I could give them other work too.
Yeah.
Dude, how many episodes would that be? The top 20%.
How many episodes would that be for we're talking 4 or 5 shows if we're talking about like that number.
Right. How many episodes per week or per month total?
Well, the full editing probably 25. And then, we'd probably
those 4 shows will have 25.
5
episodes
shows would have 25 episodes
for the month.
For the whole month.
So it's one a week.
In a 5-week month, they would.
Okay, so 1 a week. Okay. So 4, dude, editing 4 episodes. Oh, an hour-long episode?
Yeah.
That should take that. You don't even need a full-time employee for that shit.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
No, I don't.
I don't need a full-time employee to edit 4 hours of audio.
Yeah, it's the problem is the people are important to me. I mean, this is part of the same issue that I ran into with Mandy and with some of the other folks that I've had to go through some of this with, is that I didn't really want to have to do anything like this to them.
Well,
But then
yeah.
it always turned out that I should have done it way sooner. So
Yeah.
and
That's
that's
an-
where I'm sitting here now, is that, yeah, if I can make that change and then we can, get the revenue up just a little bit, then I can pay the people that are currently working on stuff, and then I can start paying back the people that I owe money to for the work.
Why
that
are you
already done.
spending $100 per episode? Can I understand how many hours are they doing editing for per episode?
I have no idea how long it takes them. I'm just paying them a flat per episode rate.
I seriously cannot believe it would take $100 per episode for an hour-long episode where you have put in all the notes, etc. It doesn't take more than an hour to do some editing like that.
It doesn't. The structure is wrong. That's
Chuck,
the thing.
Chuck,
Yeah, that's what you're
take
that's
over
what I'm
your-
getting from you guys, and I agree. The structure is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you're just gonna have to do it. You're just gonna have to bite the bullet, and
I am. I'm just gonna have to bite the bullet and do it.
because it needs to be efficient, and
Yeah.
and that's the key.
Well,
Otherwise,
then it makes it easy to keep it profitable, right?
yeah. And just remember, I don't know who you have hired, but never ever hire a relative or a friend
No.
ever, because and this is why, because it sucks.
Never hire a person you can't fire.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why. Yeah. So,
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that I'm paying the people who are doing the lead lookups $15 an hour. And so
you
I
can't
could also
do that.
Right. I could find
Yeah.
I can find somebody way cheaper to go do that work.
Yeah. In fact, here's what I would suggest. I suggest you find an editor from the Philippines who speaks good English. You cut the episodes down so that you only produce the episodes from the top 4 podcasts. You hire this person full time, and you train them on doing the lead generation as well, because they're going to have plenty of bandwidth.
Yeah.
Chuck, I have a
Then you can have
better-
one
better
employee,
idea for
and
you.
that's it.
Take my employee half-time. He will do all of these for you.
Is he doing editing for you?
Yeah, he does video, audio, production, all sorts of work, graphics. Take him half-time. You and I will split the cost on the guy. Right now is not the time for us to splurge money. He will do all of this work for you for $5 an hour. He will literally produce all of your podcast episodes for $5 an hour. And I am convinced that for the time that he needs, that you need, if you're doing 5 episodes a week, he doesn't need more than 2 days of his time to do that work.
Well, he'd have to put the intros and outros on in the other shows.
How difficult is that?
It's not.
That's like a 5-minute job. At best.
It's probably a 10 to 15 minute job per episode if I haven't put affiliate
done in
messages in as well on those shows.
Yeah, it's not that hard.
That's it. That's a good solution.
Okay.
Then you.
Well, I'll
then
talk to you
between the-
afterward, Manny, and we'll figure that out.
Then between the two of you, you have a full-time person, which is good. The whole idea is to get someone full-time, because
Yeah, he will still be working with us, but the thing is, your work volume, he can handle it while he does my job. You're paying whatever amount, he can do it for 10% of that amount, and he can handle all of your work volume. And if at that point you realize you need someone more, then he will
Yeah.
help you go find another guy in Philippines.
Yeah, makes sense.
Here's my take. Here's my take. If you're just producing 25 episodes, it should not cost you, especially if you have annotated everything else, it will not cost you more than 25 episodes per month. Let's say 3 hours per episode. Let's say 4 hours per episode, which is being very generous.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Let's just say 3 hours, 2 hours per episode, 2 to 3 hours per episode. That's 75, 550. I don't know how much it is right now. I have to look it up. Something like that. Let's just, $500, man. That's it
Per month.
per month.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree.
And he is he's no slouch. He does his job very well. You can check
Right.
out my videos on YouTube. Check out my animation videos. The guy knows what he's doing. It's top-notch job. He's not just fucking around.
Yeah, makes
Yep.
sense.
Yep, that's the way to go. I think that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. So
$500 a month. Imagine how it would change your business if your costs came down to that.
Yeah.
and then take all that money and put it in the bank of your business. Start building up those reserves.
I thought
Yeah.
The
The
John
other
was gonna say put it in wealth funds and see
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
die.
watch
Or
your
put
money
it
die.
in Bitcoin.
So I'm afraid to ask what I should do about Michelle then.
What does she do?
So she's the one that lines up all the guests, makes sure that everything gets.
You still
happens
need
proper.
that person. You still need
Yes.
someone like that. Are
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
paying her by the hour or are you paying her by
I pay her per month.
by what?
What do you mean?
How much do you pay her?
$2,000 per month.
Okay. And how many hours of work is it?
She works more than 40 hours a week.
That's a
What?
bargain. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
well
that's a
worth
pretty
paying
cheap
that.
person
Yeah.
to have.
So I'm pretty
I
good
would
with
keep-
that. I was
yeah,
just
I would keep
afraid
her.
that you guys were going to talk me into. I'm like, I really
No, you need a quality
Need her.
person there, and she's doing
Yeah.
a good job, and she's keeping all the like. That's a hard job. She's keeping all the slots full. Like
Yeah.
I think that's money well spent.
Yeah,
For
Yeah.
you need a project manager to do all of
And
that.
she's full time. And
Question.
she's
Yeah.
full time.
She is full
Right,
time.
which is good.
Yep.
That means that like the thing about having full-time people that I've noticed, and I'm pretty much only hiring full-time people at this point, is because you own them. Like, and I don't mean
Yeah.
that in a like, what I mean is that like their mortgage, their rent, it comes from you.
Yeah.
And so they have to get the job done. They have to work for you. They have to make sure that whereas a part-time person, like let's say you have someone 10 or 15 hours, and then like you're not happy with their performance, they're like, I guess I'm working on this other contract, or or some other thing
Yeah.
comes, like they're doing something else, or they're working their regular job and they're like, fuck this guy, right? But you have an employee, someone who's
Yeah.
when I say employee, I mean someone you're paying 40 hours, 30 or more hours a week. They're dedicated, because that's like,
Yeah.
this is a big,
Well, she's
the biggest
been
portion
a
of their
rock
life.
star, and she's
Yeah.
turned a lot of stuff around for me. So
Yeah, that's good. I would definitely keep her. So
Yeah.
see people who are watching, I'm not a complete asshole. Just a little
you
bit.
call it how you see it.
I'm just pragmatic.
Yeah,
So
that's
I
what
mean,
you
I've
think.
got my oh shit plan, right? And it's not a popular one, but okay, so within my businesses, right? If the shit really hits the fan, if I start to see the numbers drop, okay, I don't need blog posts on the Simple Programmer blog. I'll completely cut the content editing team, okay, which is $1,500 a month. I won't have videos edited for Simple Programmer, right? Or even, I don't even really need videos edited for Bulldog if I didn't want. I mean, I would probably, that would be like the last thing to go, but I could just raw upload those videos, right?
Yeah.
If I need to, and it's not going to affect things like a huge amount. Okay. I don't need copywriters. I get rid of both copywriters. I don't need someone managing the fucking servers. I could kill that cost, right? I could pretty much knock it down so that it's just me and Rodrigo, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he's a few $1,000 a month, and that's it. Like that I'm ready to do all that shit, because all the other stuff is like growth stuff. It's good. Like I'm trying to expand.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grow. But like I have the plan already in place. Like, and I mean, I don't, I have enough buffer where I won't have to pull that trigger. But if I see that I need to do it, I'm gonna fucking do it. And because it's survival. Like
Yep.
if I don't survive, it doesn't matter. Like none of this shit matters. So
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing that, like, as an employee, as an employer, you struggle with the idea of
Yeah.
letting go of people who you love so much and who have worked for you so long and who are, who have given their effort. At the same time, from everything I've seen in my life, like situations like this make people stronger. They don't make people weaker. So
No,
in
it's
some
true.
ways, you are doing
I
them
just
a
want to make sure
service
that I'm
by-
doing right by them. That's the thing.
But there's nothing like quote unquote right by them in this situation, because you're going to find yourself, you can
That's
give
true.
them a
If I go
bonus, you
under,
can
then
give
they
them
won't
a-
get paid.
yeah, either ways they're gonna, like, if your business doesn't survive, they don't survive either. So either ways it didn't matter if you tried to be try to like just the ideal would be you growing your revenue so that you can employ them in more gainful
Yeah.
ways rather than editing. See, the thing is, in your case right now, your arbitrage is not good for what you're doing, because editing is something that can be done much cheaper compared to what you're paying for. And as a
Yeah.
result, overall, your business is suffering in so many ways.
Yeah.
Right? So in some ways, if you went and said, okay, I need to use these employees for better work, and you had created better work for them because now you had better opportunity, because now you had grown the business, that I think would be a better way. I'm not saying these people are useless to you. I'm just saying you're
No,
not
I
using them
didn't
the
ever
right
get
way.
that feeling. It's just, yeah, I can get the work that I have to have done
Yeah,
for
you're
less.
asking them to do a very low value work right now.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. That is not returning high dividends for you.
Yeah.
And that's never
Well, you have me convinced, guys. I
something
just
that'll
have to go
sustain in the
do the
long term.
unpleasant thing now.
Well,
so.
you start, first of all, before you do that, just start where we are. Like, literally, let me introduce you to my guy,
Uh-huh.
and start with one episode, start with 5 episodes, see how that goes, see how that the cost is of the structure, see how that works out, and then take it from there.
Yeah.
Don't just pull it without having all the ducks lined up.
That's true. Yeah, let me give them a couple of episodes and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, it's all of business is a test in some ways, right? Every step is a test to figure out
Yeah,
what's
but
the
it's
next
not
step.
fun. All right,
But,
I've got to get
who
up and
said-
move for a minute, so I'll be
who
back
said
in like
business was fun.
I'll be back in
Well,
2 minutes.
I got to drop off here in a second. I got a meeting in 7 minutes.
Oh, okay. Well, let's just finish up then.
All right, let's do our thoughts for the week.
Yeah, my thought really is kind of along the lines of what you guys are saying, and essentially, no matter how much I feel like I wish things were, I've got to face reality and just do the right thing for me, my family, my business, and yeah, it may not be fun, it may not be great, it may not be ideal, but it's reality. It's where we are.
Yeah.
Mine is related to the second order consequences. I'll just sum it this way by saying, expect other people to be idiots. Being smart yourself doesn't win you anything. Like,
Oh man.
It's like actually, this was one of the things, like, if you ever play poker, right? And sometimes mediocre good poker players will get frustrated. They'll be like, this guy's such a fish. What the fuck? Why is he staying in with these cards, right? And it's like, okay, you're actually not as smart as you think you are, because you want people to make mistakes and it's fine if he beats you. Like, the smartest poker player is the one who anticipates that other people are idiots and utilizes that in order to gain, rather than trying to like get people to do the right thing,
Right.
and thinking that they're dumb and complaining about suffering losses because people aren't doing what they should be doing.
Right.
It's the same
They
thing.
made an unrealistic call, or
Right.
they made a dumb call and it messed up your good call.
Exactly.
Well, then your good call wasn't a good call.
Right, exactly. Or you should just continue playing. Like, it's fine. Like,
Yeah.
this is like, you have to anticipate that these things are going to happen. And I think that's the lesson that we can learn from this whole thing, from business, from investing, from all of these things, is to realize that regardless of how you act, other people will act like idiots. And when they do, it'll be on you to know how to act before that, not to react. Like, reacting is poor. right? So what are the things, what's the the plan that you're going to have for these situations? Again, like I said,
Yeah.
just like, for instance, after this whole thing blows over, you know what I'm going to buy? I'm going to buy a bunch of MREs, meals ready to eat, and I'm just going to have them stored, just because, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. I can just do it and be done with it and not have to worry about this shit. And it doesn't make me a crazy prepper, looking for disaster. It just makes me aware that other people are going to react in severe, illogical ways, and I'm preparing. I'm not preparing for the end of the earth. I'm preparing for idiots, basically. And that's the same thing with market and investing, right? I think that I wasn't set up for that as well, and I'm going to make those changes. So
Yep.
Just FYI, Trump is probably going to declare a nation of emergency, not just states of emergency anymore, by
I'm
12
sure.
p.m. today.
Yeah.
So your favorite president is going to put you in a lockdown, John. He's going to put you in a handcuff,
Gotta lock you down, boy.
and then we're going to have to talk about who's your favorite president anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so my thought in this moment of crisis is I want to tell a story. I know we have a few minutes remaining, so I'll tell it quick. The story of Admiral Jim Stockdale from Vietnam. And Jim Stockdale was a prisoner of war. What the hell is this? Jim Stockdale was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. He was a fighter pilot, a naval fighter pilot, and he was shot down. And the Vietnam War prisons are like some of the worst torture chambers that humanity has ever seen. So most of the prisoners of war never survived those prisons because they were so painful, they were so torturous. But when Stockdale came out of the prisons 7 years later, when he was asked what kind of people survived, he said, well, there are three kinds of prisoners. The first were the rosy optimists. They believe that it's all going to be okay, everything's going to be fine, not a big deal. I'll get out by Christmas, I'll get out by Easter, I'll get out by Thanksgiving, I'll get out by Christmas, it will be all good. The second kind were the pessimists. The pessimists were like, oh shit, this is so bad, this is horrible, this situation is like, I can't take this pain anymore, and they perished. The optimists, the rose-colored optimists, were like, none of this is not a big deal. A coronavirus is going to be no problem. We're going to be fine. Just think of it as nothing and have positive thoughts. It'll be fine. Those kinds of people died too. Those kinds of prisoners of war died too. The ones who survived were the ones who believed, who had the faith that they would survive, but also they confronted the most brutal facts and realities of the day, the most brutal realities of the moment as they existed. So the ones who survived were optimists of the highest order, but in a different kind. They did not believe that somehow magic would happen. They believed that it was going to be hard, it was going to be challenging, it was going to be painful, it was going to take a lot from them, but they would still survive. And that is the right kind of optimism that we need to have today. And that's called the Stockdale paradox. It's a mix of positivity and negativity. It's a mix of optimism and pessimism in some ways, because you are addressing the fact that it's going to be hard. It is going to be challenging, but you're not going to buckle. You're not going to give in. You're not going to just walk away.
What book is that from? I know I've read that.
It's Good to Great.
Good to Great. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably one of the most important lessons that as a society we need to learn, or at least need to be aware of as we go through this crisis right now. It's not going to be optimists to survive. People who have rose-colored glasses, assuming that somehow their business will just continue to work, or even somehow their life is normal and not get affected. People will not have an easy life. People who are saying, okay, the shit is bad, it's hardcore, it's problematic, but I'm going to survive no matter what.
Right.
So-
Exactly.
Live with the Stockdale paradox.
All
It's
right,
not-
guys.
All right, Chuck. Hey, what time do you want to do this shit? Our interview.
We will do this. Let's see. I am free at 12:15 Mountain Time, 11:15 your time.
11:15 an hour from now. Okay.
Does that work?
I do think it would be pretty cool if all the people that die from the coronavirus become zombies. Like, but I don't know. We'll see what happens.
You're spending too much
Not
time on
funny
Twitter.
anymore. Not funny anymore.
All right. I'll see you guys next week.
Hey, Chuck,
if
you
we're
wanna
around.